Motoring 2013 is brought to you in part by Shell V-Power Premium Gasoline.
When it comes to wine, age is a friend. The older these vines get here in Oregon, the better the wine, or at least that's the theory. But in the car business, age is the kiss of death. Now more than ever before, car companies are having to refresh, update, and reinvent their vehicles. Well, this week we're checking out the 2014 Acura MDX, and it's been a long 6-year wait for this third generation. Now in Canada, Acura sales are down, and this MDX accounts for 1/3 of the company's sales. So yes, the pressure is on Acura to get the MDX accurate. Okay, ad agency, the question, name the new vehicle. The answer, multi-dimensional cross-trainer. Would you buy it? Somebody did. Yep, that's what they called it back in 2000 when the first generation debuted.
There's no secret we're a little bit late to the SUV game. We had some difficulties with R&D and breaking free engineers to actually design this vehicle.
Yes, they did admit to being a bit tardy on the launch, but...
Ladies and gentlemen, the MDX concept from Acura.
6 years later, the second generation was not ready. So hey, let's keep the buzz with a concept of next year's production vehicle.
When the MDX was introduced back in 2001, it practically owned the segment, almost created the segment. It was one of the first body-on-frame SUVs and the first 3-row SUV in its segment.
And today, another 6 years later, it's the MDX third generation.
Well, the MDX is our #1 seller for Acura. It's a very important vehicle in our lineup. And as you said, the competitors are moving forward at a quick pace. We need to make a big step with this vehicle. It's all new. For the first time in the MDX history, it's built on an entirely new platform. The previous MDXs all were built off of existing architecture. This platform was designed with the MDX's unique requirements in mind. The new car is about 130 kilograms lighter than the old car, and that was one of the ways we were able to improve fuel economy. But in spite of the weight reduction, the new car is quieter on the inside. It's safer and stronger an outgoing car. Our customers told us they really didn't want a much bigger SUV. They said this vehicle was about the perfect size. It's more car-like in its overall proportions, easier to drive around town, easier to maneuver, park. They really didn't want a bigger car.
Inside the MDX, it feels like what it's supposed to be, a luxury vehicle. You could spend a lot of time here. And they've made some improvements over the predecessor. First of all, the center console. Fewer buttons, less clutter, but very functional. In the back, the second row, when you want to access the third row, it's simply a matter of pushing an illuminated button to get in or get out. And speaking of that second row, not only are the seats heated, but they now fold down flat. And then the rear view camera. I'm not a big fan unless I'm in a straight line going backwards, but they have what's known as a bird's eye view or surround view, and it makes backing up not only easier, but much safer.
The Earth Dreams technology, 3.5-liter V6 direct injection engine. It has variable cylinder management, runs on 3 cylinders, 6-cylinder modes, 290 horsepower with a big improvement, about 8% more low-end torque. That, coupled with the lighter vehicle weight, gives the car much better acceleration performance than the previous car, plus outstanding fuel economy. It should be the top in its class. It's a compelling package for its size, 5-passenger overall proportions, but inside it has 7-passenger seating capability. So you get the sportiness, the luxury, the style, in a way that you won't find in any other vehicle.
One of the nice things about this new MDX is that even with the third row of seats up, you've got a little more room back here for cargo, and they've added this little cubby hole to put some extra stuff. Now, the problem is this: where is the spare tire? Well, like in the previous model, it's underneath the vehicle. Now, heck, I'm not the designer. However, you just think about that rare moment you get a flat tire and you've got to change it, maybe in winter. You can imagine what that process would entail. I'm just saying.
The segment has gotten crowded. There's been a lot of evolution, a lot of competition. That's made my job more interesting and challenging too, because we've got certainly a lot more competitors now in the segment we used to. It's been fun.
It's better in all ways. It's lighter, it's more dynamic, it's safer, it's more fuel efficient. We're ecstatic with this new product, and yeah, I think the competition will take note of it.
It's a cliche, but yes, a split second changes everything. In this case, one life saved earned me a smashed front end, and it all played out in slow motion.
There are lies, damned lies, and statistics, and I'll show you how to get on the right side of those odds later on Kenzie's Corner.
The Chevrolet Impala nameplate first appeared in 1956 on a show car, and with the exception of a few years in the 90s, it has shown great longevity. On this edition of Test Drive, we take a look at the latest Chevrolet Impala. That sort of longevity is a rare feat, but it's not the Impala's claim to fame. In 1964, it was an integral part of what remains an all-time sales record. Chevrolet sold over 1 million full-size sedans in a single model year. The Impala, well, it chipped in with an incredible 890,000 units. The rework of the 10th generation Impala is aimed at doing very much the same thing. Transform it from a taxi and into something with much broader appeal. The cabin of this Impala is as different as the exterior. To begin with, very nice materials, it has some stylistic punch, and the layout, for GM, it's remarkably logical. And if you do opt up to MyLink with a navigation system and backup camera, the combination has to be one of the easiest infotainment systems to use. It also has a neat trick. Push that button, and right there you can plug your iPod in, put the whole lot inside, close that up, and now that old saying, what the eye doesn't see, well, the hand is not going to steal. The Impala also proved to be much quieter and far more comfortable than the outgoing model. The comfort is found in the suspension. While the front struts are fairly basic, the quadruple rear links bring much better composure to the ride. The setup also delivers a surprising degree of agility. I did not expect the Impala to hunker down and obey driver input quite as well as it did. When wearing the optional 245/40R20 tyres, it does a remarkably good job of impersonating something far smaller and much sportier. My lone complaint was the steering. The assist level is too high, which tends to numb the feedback. The back seat of this Impala is, in a word, vast. There's an acre of legroom, plenty of headroom, and in spite of the central tunnel, this car will actually accommodate 3 adult riders realistically. So what if you've got luggage? Not a problem. Right here, just behind here, 18.8 cubic feet of cargo space. Well, in a nutshell, it's about a 4 Fletcher trunk. The Impala is offered in 3 distinctly different flavours. It starts with a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder that puts out 196 horsepower and 187 pound-feet of torque. There's also a mild hybrid with a 2.4 litre 4-cylinder and GM's e-assist available. Then there's the top-line 3.6 litre V6. It makes a far more rewarding 305 horsepower and 264 pound-feet of torque. It also has a refinement that the 4-cylinder engine, well, it just cannot match. As for the rest of it, the Impala features a good stability control system and strong anti-lock brakes. The latter are noticeably different from the GM norm. The pedal is crisp and the stops are authoritative. It also offered with a number of safety devices, including blind spot monitoring, forward collision alert, cross traffic alert, and on it goes. Now, if these things don't prevent a crunch, well, the Impala has no fewer than 10 standard airbags. Upgrading to this 3.6 litre V6 should be considered a must. It not only delivers its power smoothly, it does so over a much broader range. As a result, this Impala runs to 100k in 7.1 seconds. More importantly, if you do use this car to capacity, and it is a pretty large car, you won't be left hanging out to dry when you stand on the gas.
Time to wrap up our long-term Chevy Spark. Now let me make this perfectly clear. This should not be taken as criticism of advertisers, but it's human nature. Your products are always bigger, better, and faster than the other guys, but they don't always live up to those promises. Well, I'm here to tell you that the Chevy Spark comes as advertised. As the sign says, this is an urban vehicle. It is built for city living. It's 14 inches shorter than the Scion IQ, but unlike the Scion, you can actually put two people fairly comfortably in the back seat, and you can pack a lot of stuff when the seats are folded down. Korean built, the Spark has been available for a couple of years in Asia and Europe, and it's definitely directed at the younger generation. Lots of connected technology inside with MyLink, and also standard features including stability control, 10 airbags, cruise control, and the list goes on. But what I like best about this car, and I graduated from a young generation demographic a long time ago, is the color. The Spark comes with 8 color combinations, and our test car is called Jalapeno Green. And everywhere we drive, heads turn, and that is the key to attracting customers to small cars. The styling inside and out is very cool, although it could also garner a love-hate reaction, but at least GM is pushing the envelope. Again, with 84 horses, it ain't gonna win any sprints, but that's the point. It's great around town, and once you've got it up to speed, the 4-speed automatic holds its own, although an extra gear is always welcome. A 5-speed manual is also available. Bottom line, it may not be a car for everyone, but as advertised, it's functional, parking is a breeze, and the design, well, it puts a smile on your face.
It's not a huge leap. It's a big leap in terms of what it's going to do for their reputation. But in terms of trying to sell it to the public, they're already coming in and paying, mid-30s for a Kia car today, quite happily, and enjoying the ride.
The motoring tip of the week is brought to you by Walmart. For everyday low prices on Pennzoil, conventional, and synthetic oils.
Our motoring tip of the week concerns cup tires. When I refer to cupping, I'm talking about an irregular, uneven wear pattern that can develop in some tires. Now, the more aggressive the tread pattern is on a tire, the more prone it is to cupping in the first place. But it's not a condition that we consider normal, and it's usually caused by factors going on in that particular vehicle. Now, as a driver, there's a few things that you can do to reduce the tendency or likelihood of this happening to your vehicle. And believe me, you don't want this condition. Even though it's not an unsafe condition, it's very annoying because it produces a lot of noise inside the vehicle. It actually sounds like you've got bad wheel bearings in the vehicle if it gets pronounced or severe enough. So when we look at this left rear tire in this particular vehicle, we can actually see the bumpiness and cupping. And as I rotate it, you can see my finger dancing around on the tread. It's very, very bumpy. But just to show you how fickle this problem can be, on the right rear of this same vehicle, no such condition. Now, as a driver, what you can do is make sure you've always got the tire pressure correct. You rotate the tires and don't select overly aggressive tires when you purchase new tires. However, having said all that, if you have alignment issues, worn parts in your suspension, shocks or struts that have failed, and you're not doing regular wheel alignments, no amount of tire rotation or pressure adjustment will avoid the cupping situation if that's the case. So when you're replacing tires, start out with a clean sheet of paper. Do a wheel alignment and suspension check on your vehicle. Going forward, do regular tire rotations and do monthly tire pressure checks. Those will all reduce the chances of you having a cup tire situation on your vehicle. That's your motoring tip of the week.
Here we are standing on the frozen Yukon River in Alaska. This is not by accident. We're here with Mercedes-Benz, who has brought a fleet of their Sprinter vans north of the Arctic Circle. And why? To prove just how tough they are. Mercedes-Benz brought the Sprinter to the frigid Arctic to show Canadians just how tough it is. versus how luxurious it is. Now that's a switch. Frankly, this is how Mercedes is known in North America, a luxury car brand, not as a tough truck builder. But since introducing the Sprinter cargo van here 3 years ago, they've had to fight a commonly held perception that they only build upscale, trendy automobiles. So having to change the Canadian public's opinion of their product is why I'm freezing my assets off in Alaska in January.
So it's 8:30 a.m. in Fairbanks, Alaska, but looking outside you'd swear it's still the middle of the night. Certainly for the trucks it is. They've been shut down for about 12 hours. At the recommendation of Mercedes, we used what they have on this truck called a preheater, which is a small, basically diesel furnace that fires up and circulates all the fluids through the block. Makes sense, but last night we touched somewhere way below -40, and the 30 minutes that the preheater ran this morning just wasn't enough. We cranked it over, the engine did catch, it ran for a couple of seconds and then decided to die. That doesn't suggest that the system is bad, it suggests that our planning was bad, because with 12-hour downtime, we probably should have run the preheater on the timer in the middle of the night, and then again this morning, so as to try and keep up a certain amount of heat in the block.
Nevertheless, the trucks continue to run. Last night in Coldfoot, Alaska, north of the Arctic Circle, the Mercedes team decided to leave them running. The trucks ran all night long, just like the transports that work their way up to Deadhorse, Alaska. Everything stays running because at these temperatures, anything you shut down stays shut down.
Never mind how I got in the ditch. This incident prompts a note to Mercedes. The Sprinter needs tow hooks, front and back. I guarantee that I'm not the only driver who misjudges where the road ends and the ditch begins. It's a cliche, but yes, a split second changes everything. In this case, one life saved earned me a smashed front end, and it all played out in slow motion.
Well, we're heading down the road, truck coming towards us across the little bridge. The guy in the front here was making a left. He was a dead stop. It appears to me that the trucker didn't see him until it was too late. And once he hit the brakes, the second trailer came right across the bridge sideways, smoked the van in front of us, and pushed it all the way back right into us.
So we've reached the Arctic Circle, all the way from Edmonton. Even though there's been a few glitchy little things, the heart of this beast, which is the 3-liter diesel, is still running. And that's really all that matters, because that keeps heating that cab. And as soon as I'm done this stand-up, that's exactly where I'm going back into.
And while the engine and drivability was a focal point on this trip, it's the unseen stability and ABS systems that probably worked the best. With 5,000 kilometers of road being ice-covered, it was the truck's computer brain that worked constantly to keep the van on the road and traveling in a straight line. For drivers and fleet owners everywhere, this accomplishment is noteworthy. Even when the accident happened, I'd safely brake to a hard stop, pull to the shoulder, all under control. You know, it is a tough little truck.
Closed captioning for Motoring 2013 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
Surely everybody knows by now, at least intellectually, that driving drunk is stupid. Now, maybe there are a few people that think, oh no, I'm a better driver when I've had a few because I'm more careful. No, you're not. Now, to counter this, a lot of people have gone to a designated driver idea. Every night, one guy decides, I'm driving, you guys have a good time. Next week, it's somebody else's turn. But some researchers in the States went into some bars and they found that a surprisingly high number of people who were supposed to be the designated drivers had been drinking. Hello. Now, you might think maybe the rest of the people should say, well, if you've been drinking, I'm not going to drive with you, I'll take a cab. But the point is, these people have been drinking, so how rational a thought are they going to come up with? Now, the biggest problem with drunk driving has always been that the absolute probability of there being a serious crash is extremely low. Now, you're 20 times as likely to have a serious crash if you're drunk, but 20 times almost nothing is still pretty much almost nothing. So the chances are a given trip is not going to result in a serious crash. And every time you succeed, it reinforces this bad behavior. But in statistics, we talk about the probability something will happen and multiply it by the cost if it does happen. That's the total expected value of that particular transaction. And I can tell you from personal experience in my own family, a fatal crash has massive implications. It simply isn't worth it. So if you are the designated driver, take your responsibility seriously. I know you've heard it a million times before, but please always remember, don't drink and drive. I'm Jim Kenzie.
So needless to say, Acura is hoping for big things from the MDX in the showroom. You, the consumer, will of course decide the fate of this vehicle. But it's obvious that Acura has made a serious effort to improve the MDX and hopefully make the folks over at Lexus just a little nervous. So to recap, the MDX is lighter, it's more fuel efficient, and I really like the new styling. And they have stuffed a lot of passive and active features in this vehicle to make your driving not only more enjoyable, but safer. But then again, with a price range of between $50,000 and $70,000, what more would you expect? So there you go. And before we go, make sure you check us out at motoringtv.com and join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
It's the Nissan otherworldly transportation execution. And I think that fits the transportation part at least, because we are talking about what fundamentally is a transportation appliance for Canadians. It's not supposed to be sporty.
Motoring 2013 has been brought to you in part by Shell V-Power, premium gasoline.